I came home one sunny afternoon to find a bright yellow envelope pinned to my door. Inside was a letter from the HOA, each word dripping with authority and condescension. They claimed my truck, the old, rusted pickup I'd owned for 15 years, violated their community aesthetic standards. According to them, it was an eyesore, a blemish on the perfect suburban canvas. I felt my chest tighten with frustration. This truck wasn't just metal. It was memories, trips, late-night drives, my first real independence. Yet here they were, threatening fines and legal action. As I read the last line, a cold wave of disbelief hit me. Immediate compliance required, or daily fines will commence. My mind raced. Could they really do this? Could they really bully me over a truck? I stared at it parked in my driveway, gleaming under the sun, and a spark of defiance ignited. I knew I couldn't just give in. But how could I fight back without breaking the law? Late that night, I sat at my kitchen table, laptop glowing, digging into the HOA bylaws line by line. Every page I read felt like peeling layers of absurdity. Rules about fence heights, mailbox colors, even the shade of grass. And then a faint glimmer of hope appeared. A loophole hidden in legal language about functional vehicles and temporary exemptions. It meant my truck wasn't actually illegal if parked in certain ways, or if used for specific purposes. My heart raced. Could I turn their own rules against them? A thrill of possibility surged through me. I wasn't just fighting a fine anymore. I was about to expose the ridiculousness of their obsession with perfection. My mind whirred with strategies, subtle, smart, and impossible for them to ignore. This wasn't just defiance. It was the beginning of poetic justice, but implementing it would require boldness, and I wasn't sure they'd react. Quietly. The next morning, I parked the truck in the most visible spot on my property, right in front of the HOA's notice board view. I polished it until the sunlight reflected off the chrome like a mirror, impossible to ignore. Word spread fast. Neighbors slowed down to take pictures. Whispers traveled across lawns. Did you see that truck? I watched from the porch, savoring their reactions. Then the inevitable happened. An HOA representative appeared at my driveway, fuming, waving their clipboard like a sword. I greeted them calmly, pointing out my careful adherence to the legal language I had found. Their eyes flickered with disbelief, frustration, and rage. They hadn't anticipated this. My truck wasn't just parked. It had become a symbol, a challenge they couldn't ignore. But the fight was just beginning. They weren't going to back down easily. Meetings turned tense. The HOA gathered in their sleek conference room, nervously flipping through bylaws, trying to figure out how to justify fining me. Every discussion about my truck ended in heated debates and awkward silences. I wasn't present, but every neighbor's comment echoed in my ears. Some were laughing, others impressed, a few shaking their heads in disbelief. Meanwhile, I kept subtly modifying the truck, adding decorative flags, a temporary sign reading "Community Reminder, Rules Matter," and quirky touches that made it impossible to classify as an eyesore under their own regulations. Each meeting they looked more exasperated, their carefully curated image of control crumbling under the weight of their own rules. Then an unexpected notice arrived. They were considering legal action despite the loophole. Could I outmaneuver them completely? Word of the truck's rebellion reached social media. A local blogger posted pictures with the caption, "HOA vs. Rusty Pickup, who wins?" Suddenly the story exploded. Emails, comments, and messages poured in from people outraged by the HOA's overreach. Local news reporters even called, intrigued by the absurdity of a community obsessed with perfect appearances. My once quiet driveway became a stage. The HOA, who thrived on control, were now public figures in a story of ridicule. Their authority felt shaky, like a sandcastle under a rising tide. Every attempt to challenge me legally was now being scrutinized publicly. I watched their frustration build, each meeting more frantic than the last. As neighbors chuckled at the rules they had once blindly followed, I realized the final move needed to be decisive, unforgettable, and humiliatingly clear. I organized an official community truck day. Using the loophole to its fullest, I invited neighbors to showcase all unique, non-compliant vehicles in their driveways. The HOA was forced to attend, papers in hand, trying to enforce rules they couldn't apply without contradicting themselves. The once feared authority now looked like a circus, scrambling to maintain credibility. Cameras, phones, and laughter surrounded them. Every attempt to reprimand me or others was thwarted by their own bylaws. The truck had transformed from an old pickup into a symbol of freedom, ingenuity, and defiance. And then came the final blow, something even I hadn't fully anticipated. The HOA voted on a new rule clarification that would retroactively legalize all vehicles that met certain practical criteria, effectively giving me and dozens of neighbors immunity. Their attempts to ban my truck backfired spectacularly. They had tried to wield authority, but the more they pushed, the more they exposed their obsession and rigidity. My truck, once a simple possession, now stood as a monument to resourcefulness, persistence, and the sheer absurdity of power unchecked. I parked it proudly every day, not just for me, but for everyone watching how rules could be challenged, bent, and reimagined. The HOA had learned, in the most public way possible, that control could crumble when logic, legality, and creativity joined forces. Victory tasted sweet, and the truck glimmered in the sunlight, a small, defiant masterpiece of justice.